Hello everyone, good evening. I hope everyone is staying safe and keeping well. First of all, thank you everyone for registering to speaker series dedicated to Angular framework. Speaker series is a weekly virtual session organized by DC Cap where we bring in distinguished thought leaders, technology masters, and change makers around the globe to address on varied topics which matters most to the community. We have already organized over 15 sessions of speaker series across various technological streams, and you can find all the recorded session on our website under the resources section www.dccap.com. That said, let me use this opportunity to give you all a quick intro about DCCap, the organization behind the speaker series. DC DCCap is a digital commerce agency specializing in building e-commerce storefronts for clients abroad. We specialize in Magento, Shopify, and BigCommerce. Also, with over 15 years of experience in the industry, we have developed a handful of products that allow brands and businesses to unleash their full potential. The product suites include Productimize, a product customization platform, a Chorus, an automated integration tool between ERP, CRM, and e-commerce stores, and FlexiPIM, a product information management platform, a QA Touch, a smart test management platform, a Visby, a e-commerce data analytics platform. That being said, let me bounce back to today's session. I'm honored to introduce Santosh Yadav. Thank you so much, Santosh, for having you here. And he's waiting us to share his insights more on Angular 10, and he gonna share the tips and tricks to become a Google developer expert. And Santosh Yadav is a GDE corporate trainer and mentor and Angular Ionic, and he's good in MongoDB and Express. He writes for Angular in depth and mentors at .NET and organize Pune Tech Meetup. And he is the creator of NG Deploy package for Netlify and part of Nest.js add-ons core team. And should you have any questions, guys, please feel free to raise your questions in the Q&A section that you can see at the bottom of your Zoom window. Without further ado, let me hand over the session to Santosh. And thank you once again, Santosh. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks for having me here, Srija. Okay, let me just share my screen quickly. So, okay, hey everyone, thanks for joining. I know Friday, especially Fridays and Friday evenings are some we just want to leave the work, but thanks for joining. That you are interested into learning something new. So, what I've done is I have decided this session into two parts. So, in first part, we are going to see what are the latest changes into Angular 10 framework, the version 10, and then in next 30 minutes we will see how you can actually help Angular community, and you can also become a Google developer expert in Angular. It is applied for all the technologies. It's not specific to Angular, but you have to follow the same path in case you want to become a Google developer expert. So let's go ahead and get started with Angular 10 first. I'm sure most of you already have heard about Angular. So it's nothing new. Angular releases every new version every 6 months, and they might have some new features or maybe some bug fixes. So that's what they release in every 6 months. Before we go ahead, I'll just give a short intro about myself. Srija already introduced me. So I'm a Google developer expert for Angular, and I also write for indep.dev. So on indep.dev, in case you are an Angular developer, and I'm sure you might have been to Angular in depth, or you might have read a blog post on indep.dev. So we are also looking for new writers. So if you are interested to write on any front-end technology, you can write to me. My Twitter handle is available here. You can just drop me a DM with your blog post, with a draft blog post. Maybe you can just share a document, a Google Doc, with me, and then I can get reach out to the team, and then I can share it for review. And once it is accepted, you will be part of the platform. So it's like we already have a lot of experts writing at indep.dev, and of course, the indep.dev was where I started writing at first. So that's about me. Apart from that, you can actually see my all details on my portfolio, which is santosh.yadav.dev. And recently I've also, not recently but 2 months ago, I started a series of Talks. So it's named as Tech Talks with Santosh. This is my YouTube channel where I interview the industry experts on specific technologies. For example, last interview which we had was with one of the Google developer expert for Angular, Siddharth Ajmera, regarding Angular IV. And then we also had few interviews related to Blazor framework, which is for .NET developers. Then we discussed about monorepos as well as some freelancing tips. So in case you are interested into watching those videos, you can just go to my channel and then you can watch it. And you can also subscribe it to get update for the future talks. Then upcoming episode is with Brandon Roberts. In case you are using NGRX library, you might have heard about Brandon Roberts because he's the maintainer and the core team member of this NGRX library. So he'll be talking about his entire journey into open source, how he started, how he became part of NGRX team, how he actually went on to work with Angular team. So he also worked with Angular team for quite some time, and then now he works at Narwhal.io, one of the consulting company. So this is what he do right now. Just a second, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and start the session. So let's see what are the latest changes in Angular 10. In case you have any question, you can also raise or ask questions here. That's absolutely fine, as she just said. So let's start. So Angular 10, right? So it got released few weeks ago. And the first thing is there is no new feature. So Angular 10 was, I think, the first release after a long time where Angular team decided that they won't be releasing any big feature because they already invested a lot of time releasing version 9. Version 9 was everything about Angular IV, so the new rendering engine which they had. And now Angular 10, we don't see any new feature. So this is divided into 3 parts. First, we will see the changes in Angular framework. Then we'll see changes in Angular CLI. And then at the end, we will see the changes in Angular component, where we do have some new components which are added as part of Angular component. So related to Angular framework, so the first thing is TypeScript 3.9 is available. Now you can actually use TypeScript 3.9. And just to give you an idea, yesterday they also released another version, which is 10.0.1, and now we have TypeScript support for 4.0. So that's really good news because Angular team was on time, or I can say before time, because TypeScript 4.0 got released like few days ago and everything was prepared, and they just released it. So which is really a good thing. Now you can actually use TypeScript 4.0, which brings a lot of features to the TypeScript itself, and now you will be able to use that inside Angular framework as well. So there is, for example, there is a new data type called variadic data types, which is available with TypeScript 4.0, and a lot of people are really excited about it. So the next thing is in Angular 10, now you can actually have a new project created with strict configuration. So in case you are wondering what this strict configuration is, let me just share one small project which I created using strict mode. So you can actually go ahead and do ngg, ngnew, and then your application name, and you can just say, okay, there is a flag called -- strict true. So once you do that, okay, so once you create application with strict flag on, this is the application structure you will get. Here you are able to see some tsconfig files, and you might be, in case you have already idea about Angular framework, you may be aware of the structure, the folder structure, how it is. But the most important thing to understand is in strict mode, we have something known as an extra package.json file, which is available inside your app folder. So if you have used Angular, you may notice in existing workspace, you will not have more than one package.json. So now you have an extra package.json file which is available inside app. And this package.json actually has a property called side effects false. And this property actually is I'm really interested about or excited about it, because this will enable to do the tree shaking. In case you are not aware of tree shaking, let me just tell you, when you build your program or you build your project, there are few, the compiler does few things, right, in behind the scenes. So it will compile your project, it will also remove the unused code. And this is where the side effects is really important. So once you say side effects false, now Angular compiler will be able to remove the unused exports. So what you mean by unused exports? So whenever you write a code, right, in Angular, so you add this export. For example, if I'm creating a new function and which I have to use outside, so I generally do this export function and function name and the definition. But as soon as you do export, right, as soon as you add export keyword to your code, it becomes you actually, it is not tree shakeable, so it won't be removed even you are not using it. But with this flag on, strict flag on, and with this this extra package.json, now it is possible. Now it is possible to remove these extra unused exports as well, which is really good in case of larger enterprise application. Because in large enterprise application, we think a lot of time adding new codes, but we don't think about deleting codes, right? So because we are scared that if we delete any lines of code, it may impact or it may introduce some breaking changes in my application, which is really fine. Now you can actually, you don't have to do that. In case you have a large enterprise application, I would say just go ahead and use this strict flag and see how much bundle size you can save, right? So that's a really interesting thing which we have available now with Angular 10. Okay, so now we also have narrower browser config. Now what is this? So let me just go back to the project again. So here there is a file which you will see in your all the applications or all the projects, which is known as browsers list RC. And this is where actually you define that which are the different browsers you want to support. And we already have some names here. So if you see, we support one version of Chrome, last one version of Firefox, or 2 Edge version, 2 Safari version, and iOS version. Now Angular has reduced this criteria. So Angular 9, i9, 10, and 11 support is dropped. Earlier, i11 support was there by default. Now it is not there by default. So in case you want to activate it, you have to actually follow the documentation and see how you can activate it for i11. i9, i10, I don't think so anyone supports, and i11 is going to be like removed by next year, I think 2021. Tanjil says this project is created using Angular version 9 or 10. It is created using version 10. So now, due to this, actually less number of browsers being supported, there is one more feature which was available earlier which was introduced in Angular 8, which was known as differential loading. In case you have used Angular 8 and above, you might be aware of this feature where it used to generate two different builds for older browser and new browsers. So ES5 and ES 2015. Now differential loading will not work by default. You have to actually configure it manually, because all latest browsers, they support ES 2015. So they don't have to do it. Okay, so this is related to the browser config and can load. So this is related to the routing guards. So there is a concept in Angular known as routing guards. So you have different route guards available in Angular. So you have something called can activate, can load, can deactivate, can activate child, so and resolve. These are different 5 guards you have. And till now, can load actually used to return true or false value. So it was Boolean value. Now it can return a URL tree. What you mean by URL tree is, now I can say, okay, I can directly say return a new URL from your can load. What is the advantage? So let's say a user comes into your website. He tries to access some URL directly from his terminal, for example, a URL which should be restricted, right? So he tries to do that, and that module is something which is lazy loaded. I'm not going to go into detail what lazy loading means, but let's say it is lazy loaded. And then can load activate guard comes into picture. So you have already made can load guard available. So what it will do is you can actually go ahead and verify if it is the user has access or not, and then you can just redirect him back to any other screen or any other URL which you want to. So these are few changes from Angular framework. And another change which we have is related to Angular Universal, which is for server-side rendering. So in case you are not aware of server-side rendering, there are a few frameworks which are available in React as well, called as Next.js, and I think there is one called Nuxt.js. They are actually framework for server-side rendering. So Angular has its own variation, which is known as Angular Universal. And in Angular Universal, whenever you make an HTTP call, right? So in previous version, you have to always, let's say, my application is deployed on abc.com. And what I want is whenever I make an API call, this abc.com should be automatically appended in my URLs. So what I can do is now you can pass an extra property by using this configuration. So you can say use absolute URL true. And whenever you make an HTTP call, this URL will be appended into your API calls, all HTTP calls. What I mean by HTTP calls is your XHR calls. You might have used, in case you have never used Angular, you might be aware of something known as Fetch API, which is used to connect with your APIs or backends. Then we have another small change, which is related to sanitization. So what you mean by sanitization is whenever you have some text which should not be accepted by your browsers, or which may not be safe. For example, right, someone tries to insert a script inside your HTML tag, that's unsafe. So Angular takes care of everything by default, but SMS URLs are actually treated as safe by everyone, all the browsers. And until now, it was not available. It was this SMS URL used to be unsafe, and it used to throw an exception. So now you can, what you can do is you can also use SMS URL, and it will be marked as safe. You don't have to do anything extra. Earlier there was an extra API which we had to use to make it safe. So you don't have to do it. It's a really good feature in case you have a PWA app where you have share link, right? So SMS, or you want to send an SMS using your PWAs. That's the useful thing which you can do using this. Then we have Angular CLI. Angular CLI has very few changes. I already told you that we have TypeScript support. Now you have the strict flag, which is available. The another good feature which is actually introduced by Angular CLI is now you will get a warning while using the CommonJS modules. What do you mean by CommonJS modules? I'm sure you might have heard about Lodash. So Lodash is actually a module which is common, which is a CommonJS module. CommonJS modules are actually built for backends. They are actually not built for web. So what happens when you use Lodash module in your app? Entire Lodash module will be actually part of your build. So even though I'm using one or two functions out of Lodash, it will take the entire library, which is very costly. In my application, which I'm currently working on, the final bundle size was increased by 600 KB because just I was using Lodash. So of course there are some replacements. So Lodash also has something known as Lodash ES, which is for web. Once you use Lodash ES, you are actually it's a tree shakeable thing. So if you are using two functions, my final build will contain two functions. So by just removing the Lodash from Lodash ES, you can save around more than 500 KB in your application. That's really huge. But a lot of developers are not aware that it's unsafe to use. So now Angular CLI has built-in capability that whenever you use CommonJS modules in your application, it will give you a warning. But in case you don't have any replacement for the module which you are using, you can actually use this option. So let me show you where this option is available actually. So I can go to my application, angular.json, and here you have a build option, right? So in build options, you can actually go ahead and verify, add this particular property and mention, so this property named is allowed CommonJS dependencies, and mention all the CommonJS modules you are using. For example, you are using Lodash, you are using Deep Dash, for example. Just give you an example. Lodash is widely used, so that's why I took this example. Then we have Angular component. Angular component is something which is available on material.angular.io. So this is the website where you can see the different components which are available for Angular. and it added few more things or a few components as well. So let's see what's available. So the first good thing or good new component which is added in Angular 10 is date range picker. So now you have, earlier we had to actually do it by putting some logic inside our component, having two date picker and then saying, okay, this will be the start date, this will be the end date. Now you have a date range picker. So in case you want to have a functionality where you have a start date and end date, you can actually just directly go ahead and use the material date range picker. So all the components are available here. So you'll be able to see date picker, and here it should be available comparison ranges. So here you can see this is actually date range picker. So you can select start date and then you can just select which is the end date. So this is a new component which is available, very useful. You can actually remove your existing code or existing component where you did some extra line of code just to achieve this. And the advantage is, of course, you'll be saving some bundle size by removing some extra code. So this is available now with Angular 10, Angular Material 10. Another feature is allow the position for date picker. So date picker component is, of course, this one. So the earlier the problem was you cannot define the position of your date picker pop-up, where it will open, whether I want to open it on top or below. So it was not in our control. Now you have two extra properties called X position and Y position, where you can specify where you want to actually have your date picker available. So this is two new properties which are added. Uh, I'm sure in case you have used Angular Material, you might have used material icons, and most of the times we use actually material icons. But there are a few organizations which use paid icons, right? So where they need to pass the credentials as well once they try to download some icons. And to do that, earlier they had to do a lot of things. Now it is removed, and you can just add this icon registry. You can provide the URL from where actually your icons will be loaded, will be loaded, and you can just pass up extra property called with credentials true, and it will download the icons which are behind the paywall or something like that, where you have to pass some credentials to get the icons. Then we have another small feature which is related to Angular Material. Angular Material has something known as mat table, and let me just show you table. Okay, so this table has a lot of functionalities built in. So we have sorting, we have filtering, and the one of the problem is while filtering, if I, let's say, if I enter a text and for that record we don't have any values available, so we we generally display that there are no rows available. But earlier we had to actually write some extra code to achieve that. Now you have extra or a new directive which is available, which is known as mat no data row. And once you specify this, once you add this tr into your code, if you filter out the values, you will, if you don't have any records available, this will be displayed automatically. Again, you can remove some extra code from your application. Selection list, this is I really like this particular component. So you also have the selection list available. Let me just show you selection. Okay, so in select, you also have now something known as selection, multiple selection. So not this one. Yeah, so it's available inside list. So earlier we had a list component. This is something available from a long time. Now we have something which is list with selection. So you can actually go ahead and select multiple values inside your selection. So this is a new component which is available now with Angular 10. Really useful in case you have you are creating some app, something related to do app, right? So where you have to mark everything as done. So you don't have to now write some extra code. You can actually do it using the mat selection list component, which is available. And again, something by using which you can remove some extra code. This is, I think, probably the last thing. Yeah. So in Angular Material, you can actually you have some schematics available. For, let me just show you. So you can just go to guides and schematics, and you will see list of schematics which is available. This is something which is used to create some, let's say I want to quickly create some screens, right? So let's say I want a I want a component with some forms available, random forms. I just don't care what is available there, just for some kind of POC. So these schematics are really helpful. So it can just quickly set up everything for you. So there is something called dashboard. So in case you want to create a dashboard, you can just run a command called ng-generate. So this command is available here. So first you have to run this command, ng-add angular material, and then you can run this command, ng-generate angular material, and what type of component you want to create. For example, if I want to create a form component, I can say address form. Similarly, we had something called as navigation, and I use it a lot during live sessions, because in case I want to create a navigation bar, I don't type it, right? So of course in demos you cannot. So you can just run this command and a navigation bar will be created for you. But the earlier problem was, in Angular we use something known as router link, and Angular by default was using href, which we had to actually always replace. So I was fed up with I just raised this particular PR, and actually this feature was implemented by me. So now you can pass a flag called -FN routing, and now rather than href you will get the router link. So that's it. You don't have to replace anything by your own. Okay, so what's next now? As I said, Angular 10.1.0 or 10.0.1 is released with TypeScript 4.0, but there are more things, right? I mean, there are a lot of things which community needs. So Angular recently launched an Angular roadmap. So they have given the roadmap for what's coming next. For example, support for TypeScript 4.0, which is already released. And there are a few more changes. For example, RxJS changes, which will be coming up. Then there are changes related to the Angular IB. And similarly, there are a lot of changes which Angular team is planning. And in future, Angular will also open RFC, request for comments, where you can actually go ahead and comment that whether this particular feature is useful, how you are using it, or what are the new changes which you need inside the Angular or inside this particular feature. So you can actually go ahead and comment that out there. Whenever there will be an open RFC, Angular team will actually tweet about it on the Twitter platform. You can always follow them. And then there was a last RFC for Angular IV, which is closed right now. So this is an update from Angular 10. So now next, what we are going to do is we are going to see how actually you can become part of Angular community, or of course everyone is part of the community, but in case you want to become a Google developer expert, how you can do that. So that's what we are going to see next. In case you have any questions, I can take it now. I want to install Angular from my system. Why you want to uninstall Tanjil? I'm not sure. Okay, anyways, in case you have any questions related to Angular, you can ask right now. Otherwise, you can always reach out to me on maybe my LinkedIn profile. You can send me a request on LinkedIn. And in case you have questions, you can always ask, or otherwise just send me a DM on on Twitter, and I can answer your question in case you have any. Purvasi, I think you have some question. You raised your hand. Cool. So as I said, right, there are no new features which are available now, but of course in future we will be having some feature as well. Now the next part of our talk. So now how to contribute to Angular and how to become a GDE. So in case you are not aware of what a GDE is, so GDE stands for Google Developers Expert, where you get recognized by Angular for being part of the community and contributing to the community. So they have multiple categories. Let me just show you. So this is Google Developers Experts directory, where you can actually go ahead and see how many Google Developer Experts we have. So I think there are more than 700 Google Developer Expert around the world. Let me just check. I think last time it was, might be, okay. So you have around 827 Google Developer Experts into multiple categories in entire world. Okay. So there are categories like you have Android, you have Angular, you have Google Maps, you have Google Cloud. So it's not related only to Angular. So you can become Google developer expert for any of the category which is listed here. So, and of course you get a lot of advantage once you become a Google developer expert. You get to speak at a lot of conferences. You get, of course, recognized in the community, and of course the way you want to use it, right? So let me show you how you can actually achieve that. The first thing is, of course, when it comes to the community or sharing your knowledge or contributing to the community, everyone is scared. I was the same guy. So I was also scared how to start, where to start, and how people will take it. So, of course, the first thing which you have to do is get out of your comfort zone. That's what you have to do first. So there are ways you can start contributing to the Angular community or any community or any technology which you are using. Like for example, if you are using Go or you are using machine learning. So the first thing which you can do is, in case you have knowledge or you have some real-time exposure to the technology which you are using, you can start answering on Stack Overflow. There are a lot of Google developer experts who actually continuously interact with developers on Stack Overflow. So they are always available for answering your questions, and that's how they become Google developer experts. So just to name a few, there is someone called Siddharth Ajmera from India, Pankaj Parkar from India. There is a guy called Alexei. There is indep.dev founder Max Koretsky. So he also started contributing via Stack Overflow. So, and similarly, there are a lot of developers. One of the developer who's from Sri Lanka, his name is Sajitaran. He also started contributing from Stack Overflow, and they continuously do that. So this is the one way you can start. Then of course, creating contents. So you can also go ahead and create contents related to the technology which you are working on. So you can create YouTube videos, you can write blog posts on Dev2, or you can, as I said, in case you are interested in writing on front end, you can always drop me a mail or just send me a DM. I'll get in touch with the web indep.dev team, and you can also write for indep.dev. You can start meetups. So in case you have a community around you, that's really good. I mean, of course, what you can do is you can just go ahead and see or connect with the whoever is actually organizing the meetup and see if they need some help, or you can how you can actually become part of that particular community. So in my case, when I started my own meetup in Pune, there was no meetup for Angular. So that's where I got the idea of starting my own meetup. But in case there was already an existing community which is already available in my technology, I would have like become part of that particular community, but it was not available. So I started my own. In case you have some community around you and they're already doing some meetups or online meetups, just go ahead and check with them. They might need speakers, they might need volunteers, and this is how you can again become part of some community, right? Now coming to the open source contribution part. So this is the thing where a lot of people don't go, right? So this is the zone where a lot of people are not doing much. So the easiest way to start actually contribution is via documentation. For example, I'm sure you started learning some new technology. For example, let's say you started learning Python, or maybe you started learning Go. So what you will do, the first thing which you will do is you will start learning via docs. You will see, okay, how is the documentation? What are the steps? How to use a particular module? And you will try to actually follow those tutorials and then do it. If you get some issues or you think that documentations can be improved, that's the way you can start contributing. And that's how it started. So my first PR for Angular was related to documentation. So if you go to angular.io, you have a project structure, a dedicated page where you can see the project structure. So there is a project structure for your libraries, Angular libraries, which was actually done by me. So this was my first PR for Angular, and I was really scared before I actually did that. So you can see I opened this PR in around March 18, 2019, and it was I think closed after 9 days. So there was continuous feedback from the team, and finally we merged it after 9 days. The first thing which you have to do is, or you have to understand is, whenever you do open source contribution, everyone respects your work. So it's not like if I'm doing something wrong or I don't know something. For example, when I raised this PR, I was not that comfortable using Git, but the team was really helpful. They guided me what are the commands which you need to execute, and then I did it, right? So once you just need to get there once. So once I raised my first PR, it got approved. I got comfortable with the entire process. I started contributing more, and within another 6 months I was into top 100 contributors for Angular. And this is how I started my journey actually with Angular community. Then I started my own meetup. I started writing blog posts. So these are the things. Apart from all those things which we mentioned, you can also test the new features. For example, as I said, right, so it's the strict flag is available now with Angular 10, but it may have some breaking changes, or there might be some error. It might not be working as expected. So what you can do is you can just test the feature and raise an issue on their GitHub. And raising an issue is also counted as a contribution. So if I go to my own GitHub repository, okay, and let's go to profile. Okay, so you can actually see all the projects you contribute to here. So if I click on Angular, you will be able to see, okay, how many contributions I have made. So you can see, okay, there are 77 contributions, but is all those contributions a PR? No, there are some there are some things which are like issues. I just tested, okay, this is a new feature. I tested, okay, it is not working. So I raised a new issues. I don't have to actually, if I have raised issues, it's up to me whether I want to do that PR or not, or I can just leave it to the team. I can say, okay, the team may take care of it if I'm not ready to actually raise the PR, or I'm not in condition to actually raise a PR. So team can actually take care of it. So this is another way you can help in testing. And it's not only for Angular, right? So it's available for all the different libraries or runtimes which you use in your project. What happened? Just a second. I think I clicked on some wrong button. Yeah. So it is also like, in case you are using some third-party library and there are some issues in that third-party library, don't be scared. Just go ahead and raise an issue on GitHub. And these are different projects. If I talk about any frameworks, I'm sure the framework is not complete without the community. And community also contributes via some packages, right? So in case I go to languages like Go, you might get, there are multiple packages which are available. And if I go to React or Angular, they also have some packages created by community. So these are few packages which I have listed here. You can start with Angular Material. You can also use NGX Bootstrap or NGRX, RxJS. These are different libraries which are used inside Angular. So you can also go to their docs. Let's see if the doc is complete, if they are missing some changes. In case they have some new releases and you are already using in your project, try to upgrade your project. Try to upgrade and see if things are working as it was earlier, right? In case it is not, there are some breaking changes, just go ahead and report, okay, this is some scenario and this is how it is breaking, and they can take care of it. Send it, as I said. So send it. In case you have any PRs, any issues, send it to the team. Don't keep it to yourself. A lot of developers, they are scared what in case I raise some PR, how the team will take care of it. If I raise some issues, whether that is really an issue or not. So in case you are pretty strong, that pretty sure that the issue is valid issue, you can actually go ahead and raise it on GitHub. You can also support open source projects in multiple ways. One of them is Open Collective. In case you have your organization, or you are working for some organization where you are using some open source projects, you can also help them via Open Collective, which is, let me just show you this again. So I can just go to any project. For example, I've been using NGRX for a long time. So all the libraries, right? So they have a button called sponsor. So you can actually click on this sponsor button, click on this Open Collective link, and you can actually help them financially. So all the open source projects, of course, open source projects are not free. We think it's free, but it's not, right? Someone is doing some work for you. Just a second. So open source projects, as I said, they are not free, right? So someone is working, someone is giving their own time, free time to actually create those projects and work on those projects. And of course, it is helping your organization, right? So in case you're using those libraries, it is only helping your own organization. You're saving those much or those many man hours which you might have invested if that library does not exist. So go ahead and help the open source using the Open Collective. Or in case you think some developer who has who you thinks is actually making some uh, impact on the community. For example, Brendan Roberts, who is part of NGRX core team. So a lot of developers also have this sponsor button available. So you can also sponsor them. You can ask your organization in case you want to sponsor, you can also sponsor them. For example, already sponsor a few developers on GitHub. So John Papa, you might have heard about. There is someone from Microsoft, again, Wasim. So he also works for Microsoft, and he was part of Angular team earlier. And then we have Kevin Cruiser, who is also one of the Google developer expert, and they are doing a lot of stuff. So okay, you can also help them via Open Collective or GitHub sponsor program. But what after this, right? I mean, we did everything. Now what next? So next thing is, of course, you can become a Google developer expert by doing all these things. You don't have to actually do everything from here. For example, I don't contribute using Stack Overflow. I'm not active on Stack Overflow at all. So, but I contribute mostly via via uh, PRs, raising a PR to open source projects, or creating and maintaining some open source projects, or helping some other open source projects to actually upgrade or do something, right? And I run this talk show. I actually write about Angular. I keep talking about Angular in multiple meetups. Like, for example, I'm talking today, and now next week I also have few talks which are there. Then we'll have few more talks in September as well. And this is how you can become a Google developer expert in any technology. You just have to actually invest some time and give some time to the community, right? So at the end, of course, who succeeded, that's you. It's not the other companies, right? I mean, it's not like if you are investing your time and contributing to Go, it's not like you are helping Go, right? So you're also helping yourself. What you can achieve is you can become a Google developer expert for that particular technology. And yep, that's it. So in case you have any questions related to GD program, or you want to become a Google developer expert in future, you can always ping me. I'll help you the way I can, I mean, or guiding you how to become a Google developer expert. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you so much, Santosh. No, so it was a very short and powerful presentation in terms of the Angular 10 features and the contribution. You talk a lot about the contribution. I hope like it will be helpful for the community at large. And guys, like we have like few more minutes left. Like if you have any question, like probably you can use the Q&A section to raise your questions, or else like you can contact Santosh directly through Twitter or LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you everyone for your valuable timing on Friday evening, and thank you so much, Santosh, for accepting our invite and representing our community for an wonderful talk. And thank you everyone, and thank you, Santosh, and see you all again in another insightful session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.